I think it's only fitting to start this episode off just with a big, deep sigh, because, oh man.
Oh, you are teeing this up so good. Enzo, to me, looks like a more agile, basically a young Chess Fabregas.
It's a Rolls Royce, man. Gotta sell it.
Messi is the Jorginho of international football. That was a dumb take.
The flag stays down!
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Boys, we're concluding another year on this podcast. 2023 is over. Thank the Lord. 2024 incoming. We are recording on New Year's Eve. Matt and I are about 3 hours from the ball dropping. Parker, you got another hour. Sorry, you gotta linger a little bit. But boys, how we doing?
As long as our balls drop, we're good. On that note, I'm doing good. Just been kind of getting some stuff done around the house last kind of 2-3 days. Wife's been working, so getting to hang out with my son and just kind of let him roll around and do whatever he feels like nowadays. He's crawling, standing, doing his thing. So keeping up with him is always an adventure. But yeah, can't really complain too much. We're doing well. Parks, how are you?
All things considered, pretty good. Tough week for us in the Gross household. Lost my grandma about a week ago, so flew back to Appleton for the funeral there. So it was sad, but it was still cool. It's always good to get the whole family together and celebrate 98-year-old woman's life. She lived a long, mostly healthy life, and she was incredible. She was a really good role model on how to live and how to treat people. So it's always cool to get together with family and hear stories of just who she was and how she made people feel. And that's really all you can do to live by. And it's good reminder of how to be as a person. So shout out to my grandma there. But yeah, all things considered, doing all right, man. It's been a nice, relaxing weekend, long weekend here, so which is good. But my wife's not feeling great, so she's been a little bit under the weather. So we've been mostly staying on the couch. So not a bad thing to rest and relax and recharge a bit. But yeah, the vibe in the house, if I'll use that word, the vibe in the house is just a bit under, just because she's not feeling 100%. So can't really complain though. Collins, how are you? How's your New Year's? I heard you were cooking up some fun goodness over there at the household.
I got some dry aged steaks from the store yesterday. Cooked those up today, and lots of butter. Very Wisconsin-y. Loaded baked potatoes. We got fried pickles. We got some sparkling cider for Aiden. I've got my fancy whiskey here for me. So no, it's a good night. Man, again, I'm glad 2023 is over. Ready for 2024. And I know we haven't done the cheers in a while. I just want to cheers at the beginning of the pod, Parker, to what you said about celebrating family and cheers. Thoughts and prayers with you and your family, man.
Cheers, bro.
All right. Well, first off, apologies for no pod last week. Christmas, shit happens. Then we played a shit game. Matt and I were like, nah, we're good. So rather not talk about it. So we'll talk about the good stuff. We got 2 wins. God, how often do we get to say that? 2 wins in a week. Beating Crystal Palace with a late goal, and then beating Luton, surviving Luton, we'll say, with the early match yesterday, Saturday. So Parker, I know the vibes are low in your house with illness and whatnot, but what kind of vibes were you getting from this week's matches?
I'm gonna rewind it to the end of the Wolves game because Christopher Nkunku got off zero and put in his goal. So I was happy to see that. I know it was a little bit in garbage time, but happy to see him get a goal. And then yeah, the Palace match I didn't get a chance to watch, but the Luton match I think deserves more celebration than our fans are giving it. The Collins, you sent us a text saying like Luton matches are relatively kind of calm first half and then chaos second half. They kind of bring it. That's kind of what they do. And we put in three to combat that. I don't think our guys get enough credit for putting in three against a side that has the ability to kind of storm back in second halves and give it and bring it to us. Do I think we looked fantastic in the end of that match? Of course not, right? Like, of course not. But at the same time, we did enough to win. We handled our business, and that Cole Palmer third goal was just something spectacular. Like, that was a bit of magic. And at first, when I watched it, it looked like he kind of stumbled his feet and it kind of got ping-ponged around a little bit, and then he kind of found a way to put it in. Absolutely not. It looked like he was fully under control with that ball. He knew exactly what he was doing. The feint, the step over, everything about that goal was just picture perfect. And so, like, we scored three against them. I know that they had some unlucky breaks hitting the post and crossbar a couple of times, but fuck them. We scored three. We did enough to win that match, and I'm proud of the guys for kind of banding together on that one. So, all in all, like, we pulled out 2 wins, and 6 points in a week, to your point, Collins, doesn't happen all the time, and that's something that I think we should be celebrating more than we are. I'm not getting ahead of myself and saying that we're a new reform team, but 6 points is 6 points, man.
I mean, yeah, the 6 points, 6 points. The Palace game was nervy. It's you never really get used to it as a Chelsea fan. You think you're past like the worst of it, and then you just keep going on this roller coaster every single match. Definitely with Palace, with Nico missing that wide open chance and then finally scoring, but then he's offsides. Then you have the penalty decision go to VAR and take forever, which to me seemed like it was pretty cut and dry what needed to happen. So I was confused as why it took so long. But anyways, we get the goal, only taken by Noni. Great, we get the win. Luton, again, we know what they're about. I forgot what the stat was, but over half of their goal, like more than half of their goals have come in the second half this season. Like, they are going to come at you with everything in the second half. So get done what you can in the first half. And I think we did. We got out to a 2-0 lead. That's about as good a start as we could ask for. Then we got a third, and then the pressure came, and then again you start to see some chinks in the armor and things like that. And it's just tough because we've seen this play out so many times. Like, it's bad when I think collectively we're up 3-0 and we still don't feel optimistic that we're going to hold on to that lead. Like, that's just kind of at least where I'm at right now. Like, no lead is safe. We've seen it too many times to have leads slip away. But again, we set ourselves up for success by scoring the goals early and often, and then just surviving at the end. And I think it's kind of all that you can hope to do against a team like that. But it's big. I think it's big for not only where we're standing in the table, because I think win, lose, or draw, we still would have been 10th, so it didn't really matter. But that's more of a confidence game, more of a gut check game, and I think we were able to show that we were up for the challenge. So I'm hoping that that's something we can carry forward going into 2024.
And I really hate the win, lose, or draw. We're in the same position. Take. I know it's not a take. It's like a fact. Like, win, lose, or draw, we would have been in 10th. But I hate the people who are throwing it around like, oh, it didn't matter that we won or lost. Okay, well, had we lost, we would have been 6 points out off of 7th place, which is Manchester United. But we won, so now we're 3 points off of Manchester United. You got to win to hang with the pack. Even if you're not going to drop places, like you don't want to drop points because then you're falling off the pace, right? So that's what I was most happy with. It was 2 weird, ugly wins, but weird, ugly wins. And I've said this before on the pod. I feel like Chelsea Football Club fan base now has PTSD from last year. And so now it's like we forgot what winning is. We forgot that a lot of times you're going to win ugly. Not every game is going to be beautiful. It's not all going to be Barcelona against a bunch of farmers, right? So you got to win the ugly games. And I thought the Luton match especially was a positive because that's, it's a weird stadium. It looks like one that they assembled in 3 weeks like they did in Qatar and then are going to disassemble at the end of the year. The atmosphere itself was very loud, very vocal. How many times did we hear that one guy yelling, "Fuck you, wankers," which was, chef kiss. Loved it. But for a young team, but against Palace, we named our youngest ever team in the Premier League. And against Luton, it was very similar. It was also a very young team being named. So for them to go and play in a awkward fixture, in a high pressure, not a stadium you're used to playing in, against a team who just kamikazes the second half, to come away with a win was big. That's a big learning moment for this young group. And if we want to talk about the project, which I know is taboo for some people here, but not here, not on this pod. It's taboo for me. But if we're going to talk about project, this is one of the games that you can turn around and look at 3 years from now and be like, hey, that game taught this group a lot. So we had some standouts, I'll say, from this week. Parker, you mentioned one. That's Noni Madueke. Seemingly banished from the squad for months on end. Has come back in the last couple of weeks now. Has 2 goals in 2 matches. Parker, what do you make of Noni?
So I'm kind of like, I'm curious what happened, because something had to have happened. It seemed like he was banished, that he wasn't allowed to play or something. So, but at the same hand, I'm kind of glad that we didn't. It means that they're kind of keeping things locked a little bit closer to the vest and locked internally, which is a good thing, I think, for this team, because we don't need any more bad press. We don't need any more like situations getting out. So I'm happy about that. And honestly, like when we saw him feature last year, we all were like, oh, he can do some stuff. Like he can make some stuff happen on that right side. He's one of the few players that can get a shot off on target that doesn't need much else. We haven't had too many of those in recent history, and that's it's a positive for us. And so that was clearly evident by the goal that he had against Luton. I mean, just take on one-on-one and bury it. Like that goal is awesome. Like, and I missed seeing goals like that. It went in and I was like, oh my God, it went in. It was like a 2-second delay for me. I was like, oh my God, we scored. Oh, what the hell? Like I was so much expecting that to be skied or just like wide or something, right? I'm so used to like Nico's shooting boots or Enzo's shooting boots, where it's just like, there's not really much of a prayer for something like that to go in. So look, I'm happy. I'm curious to see where this goes. If he's just in like fuck you mode and see what the form looks like in 2-3 weeks to see, can he consistently perform like this? Or is this a little bit of a flash in the pan to say like, dear Poch, I should be playing Love Noni? I don't know what to make of it quite yet. But he's dynamic. And in a game where Raheem wasn't featured and Mudryk still has some of his issues, and Broya and Jackson, like there's a lot of things still getting figured out. I'm happy to see someone bury a ball.
Noni's fun. He's just fun to watch. yes, like we know that he's with the England U21s, like him and Palmer. Like so we know that they have a good relationship. And just seeing that understanding that they have, especially in the Luton game, like it was really good. And we haven't really seen a lot of those relationships kind of develop with the kind of carousel that we've had of players so far this season, especially in the front. Just kind of a constant rotation of people being out injured, working their way back, things like that. So I think it was a good chance for some of these young kids to get out there and kind of start meshing and seeing what can work. I was reading just some random article about getting Mudryk and Madueke like a chance, like giving them more chances to just go out there for a match. Lo and behold, you see them go out there and you see what they can do, and you're like, oh, this actually is pretty good. Like, you give them a little bit of time and see what can happen. And that's the thing is, we still have to be very mindful, and we try to be as much as possible. I'm usually pretty bad at it, but we try to be as mindful as possible. These are, compared to us, these are kids, like children. Like we're pushing our mid-30s here, and they are just able to actually go to a bar in the States and get a drink. Like, they are children. And I think we kind of lose sight of that sometimes, but they're playing a big game on a big stage. They'll need some time. I think whatever the situation was with Noni, it's obviously worked itself out, and in a very big way. I think now we're seeing Pochettino has the trust in Noni. Noni is in whatever mode he's in right now. And if that's kind of what we can expect out of him going forward, then I'm thrilled. Even if it's just a brief glimpse of form, I'll take that too, because at the end of the day, the whole, I think, goal for this year is progress, right? You're going to see ups and downs with a lot of players. If this is like is peak of the season, I'm fine with that. Like, it's a good peak. It's a good run of form over a couple games. I'm fine with that. We're going to see it with everybody throughout the season. I like it. I think Raz maybe a little bit kind of overworked, and we've kind of seen this before where like he'll go on a tear for maybe like a month, and then he'll just kind of fall off, and we'll notice like he's not really taking anybody on. That's when he's at his best, or he's just kind of doesn't seem interested, not making the runs or anything like that. I think that's kind of where Raz is at right now. He's at that little kind of slump. He'll bounce back, no problem, but he's just kind of in that rut right now. And I think that frees up opportunities for others to kind of show what they're capable of out there on the pitch.
Yeah, I think it's the right time, like you said, for that. Last year, he went into that slump, and seemingly the rest of the team also went into that slump. This year, we've got players stepping up. Misha has stepped up. Madueke has stepped up. Especially, just talking about the wings specifically, Nico Jackson has played a little left wing, looked okay out there. So I mean, we have options now. It's not like you have to trot Raz out there every single match. But the thing I found most interesting about Madueke, and I don't know if you guys, Parker, you didn't get a chance to watch the Palace match. Matt, I know we watched. I don't know if you saw the post match stuff. Oh no, we were fixing your car, but watched it after the fact, and he's out there talking with Pochettino after the match. And normally when you see Pochettino with players, it's side hug or real big bear hug. And they're doing like the weird grade school like private dance, or like private school dance thing, or the saving room for the Holy Spirit. And Noni's talking to him real serious, and Poch is like, yeah, like, okay, yeah. So after the Luton Town match, the Chelsea website or beat writer for Chelsea's website asked Noni, what you've been saying with Maurizio. He says the manager's not so much on me about scoring goals, but being as connected with the team as possible and working hard. I try to make that my foundation to build on at the start of a game. I know if I do that, then my individual quality will shine through. When we look back at the rumored reason why Noni was excluded from the squad for so long, is that he broke curfew, he went out and partied the night before a match or night after a match or something where they had a curfew, they weren't allowed to. And if you kind of build off of that and kind of build the thought stream there, Noni kind of is a selfish player, right? He's somebody who likes to take people on to an extreme, I would say, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. And so, if he wasn't fitting the style, you got to kind of break him a little bit, break him down to build him back up. I'm happy. I think I said it to you guys. I think Maurizio has pissed off Noni, left him on the bench, kind of just fuming on the bench. And now he's unleashing him on the world, which is good because we're playing a bunch of championship level squads in January. So let the man cook. Let Raz have that break. Raz comes back refreshed in February when we play City and Spurs and Liverpool and all those clubs. So, Matt, like you said, this is the right time.
And like, this is why like I get pissed off when people call for Poch's head, because you need some time to like implement some of that into a team. Like, you can't just come in and like beat people over the head with your style and get results right away. It takes some buy-in. It takes some like figuring out. It takes some time to like mold people, right? I mean, I love what you said, Matt. These are kids. These are children. They are. We have the youngest team in the Premier League. And there's a lot of ego out there. And there's a lot of managing all of that. And guess what? It's only going to get worse when Nkunku's kind of up to full strength and he's a regular starter and Lavia's out there as well. It's only going to be more crucial to be able to manage. And so, like, you need some time to figure that out. And this year, we're not challenging for a Champions League spot. We're not challenging for the league. Take some time to figure it out.
So another player in that attack who not has caused controversy, because he seems to be a pretty quiet guy. Armando Broja. He's about just a little over a year from having surgery. If I looked at his Instagram correctly, posted a memory of that from last year. Seems to now be back to full fitness. He's getting a good run of minutes, not starts, but minutes. But he's also being paired with Nico Jackson. There doesn't seem to be like for like swaps there. It's kind of just Nico and Armando are playing together to varying results, I will say. Now, we don't have a lot of experience with Broja. He played sparingly last year before going down injured, played sparingly this year. How do you guys feel about Broja? Where long term, where does he slot in this squad?
I'll just say right now, I hate the idea of a two-striker system, especially with the two that we have. It does not make sense at all. One of the things that stands out for me is the Luton match. They were both like trying to make the same run along the left side, and they just ended up running like almost right into each other. Like they were like, I forgot who, somebody was coming up on the left, and they both made a run to the left to try and like clear room. It's like, okay, clearly this is not gonna work. Like, it's just not. Where do I see him long term? I think he's still going to be with the club for the rest of this year, with the caveat that we do not go out and get a striker in January. I think if we get a striker in January, then Broja will go out on loan. If we don't get a striker, then I think Broja stays and to fight for the number one spot at striker over Nico. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think he can be I think he can be good. I'm not saying he's going to be world class or anything like that, because that I don't see. But I do think that he is, from how I'm looking at him, and Collins, I know you and I disagree about this all the time, but I kind of take Broya for what he is. He's a physical body. He can draw, he can kind of body with the center backs and everything like that. He can wear him down. He does draw a lot of fouls that I will give him credit for. He does draw a lot of fouls. But he's definitely your typical hold up striker. Not really going to wow anybody with speed. I take him for what he is at that point. Perfectly fine. I'm good having somebody like that in our back pocket if we need to switch up how we look at the attack. Because like we said, we do have a lot of creativity out on the wings, and even if you have Palmer playing at number 10 or Nkunku, whoever, we have a lot of creativity, and we can interchange a lot of different things. So we're not strictly limited in that regard. But again, to answer your question, I see him finishing out the year with Chelsea as the number 2, possibly number 1 striker. I think he'll go toe to toe with Nico. I think it's Nico's to lose, but I do think Broya could give him a run. Unless we sign a striker, then Broya will go out on loan.
I agree with the going out on loan. I think unless we have a replacement for him in January, he's not going anywhere. He suits me as somebody who's a prime candidate for the sell and make free money academy guy role, especially if the rumors that they're circulating today from certain scouting sources that Osimhen to Chelsea is basically done outside of the club's negotiating. So the personal stuff has been agreed. I could see Broya leaving as a part of that. Does he go to Napoli? I don't know, but certainly goes somewhere to raise some funds. Matt, I also agree with you. I will say his physical build would lead me to believe that he's somebody who should be able to body defenders. He's somebody who should be able to put his back to goal, somebody we can play off of that way. But he's not. He's not. He ends up on his butt more than Levi Colwill does, which is shocking. He doesn't make smart runs. Like you said, he's the striker and he's going out left where Nico Jackson's playing on the left wing, and they both make the same run. It's not a high IQ move. He makes runs into nowhere. It, stands there when a run is needed. I don't see much out of Armando Broya at the moment, and I realize he's coming back from a pretty serious injury, and the confidence I'm sure is going to take a while. But then I think back to his time at Southampton on loan there. I think back to his time at Vitesse. He wasn't setting the world alight there either. He had 6 goals at Southampton, and I think 4 of them came in the first month and a half of the season. He only scored 10 goals in the Eredivisie, where I think Mason Mount had 15. He's not a... I hate to say it because I like Cobham products, but he's another one where we chose wrong on. It's another one where he's not up to standard. He would be a great Dominic Solanke, who this year is having a great year, but historically has not been a great forward. So I'm not high on him. It feels like when he's on the pitch, we're playing with 10 men because he's just useless out there. So give me Nico Jackson all day, every day. Let Broya come in for his 5-minute cameos at the end of matches.
So for me, he's got 2 matches to figure his shit out, because we play Fulham and we play Liverpool in the month of January. And that's when Nico Jackson's not going to be with our team. So with AFCON. So he's going to be the guy, presumably. And he's going to have to show me something pretty big for me to have buy-in confidence for that. I know that's not a large sample size. It's not necessarily fair, but I agree with a lot of the things you guys are saying. Right now, gun to my head, I don't think he's a Chelsea player long term. He might not even be a Premier League player long term. I don't know if he has a great Premier League career elsewhere. You look at some guys, and he just might be a great championship striker where he has the ability to take one more touch, and you just don't get that touch in the Premier League. Like, to settle yourself and square it and get a shot on target. You just don't have that time in the Premier League. So even if you're playing for a lesser side, I just don't know that he's going to be able to set the world on fire. So my confidence on him is fairly low. I'm leaving the door ajar to see if he can do something against Fulham and or Liverpool. We'll see what happens in the January window and how quickly someone comes and starts for us. But yeah, I just don't see it. And as I watch this project happen, there's a lot of guys that I can see the potential in, that aren't performing at Chelsea level right now, but I can see it in the future. For me, he's just not one of them, and it's unfortunate. We'll see what happens though, Collins, on the raising of funds, because I know Gallagher is the other name that's very much linked to quick raising funds. I know someone like a Tottenham would buy him for 40-50 million. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what we can get for Broja, and I don't know if it's anywhere close to enough to fund an Osimhen, because of what we have spent, and not being in Europe for 2 straight years is really going to hurt us. So I'm assuming we're not making Europe this year. If we do, it's a godsend, but I'm assuming we're not. And it's kind of funny because I'm watching I'm just started season 2 of Welcome to Wrexham, and I of course know the outcome and I know what happens, but they're talking about that pressure of we need to go up or this isn't sustainable. It's kind of how this feels for Chelsea a little bit, right? It's like we need to be in Europe or our structure isn't really sustainable. We have to have some of that money coming in to fund these purchases, and there's other things that we want to do as a club as well. So it's we've got our backs against the wall a little bit on this one, and in the short term, it might mean selling off some of that column to raise some money, which for the most part I'm okay with. The Gallagher one,
Let's get to Gallagher in just a second here, because I want to close out the Broja thing, because I forgot about AFCON. I forgot that we're going to be short Nico Jackson for what could be about a month and a half. We got 5 matches in January. Parker, you mentioned the 2 Premier League matches. We have a home and away against Middlesbrough, and then we have Preston in the FA Cup, with, if we win that, adding another FA Cup match in January. Broja can't play all 6. He's not going to play, what is that? What's 6 times 90? 500. He's not going to play 540 minutes.
You forgot stoppage time.
Okay, 700 minutes.
I would say ballpark at 700.
We haven't seen a lot of David Washington. I think he's made 1 appearance. Do you trust him, or do you recall someone like Mason Burstow from Sunderland? Because I feel like if you're going to go get Osimhen, it's going to be like a Malo Gusto or an Nkunku, where you sign him in January, get him in the summer. Or do you do something creative? Do you go get a Gonzalo Higuain style loan, or buy somebody on the cheap like Demba Ba? What do you do? What do you do with the striker deficiency?
I go false 9 is what I do. I don't play a striker, because with Nkunku and Cole Palmer being able to play false 9s, with Nkunku back now, I focus on where my strengths are as a team, and I go false 9.
Yeah, I think we have too much creativity that, the argument could be made that having an actual striker is more of a hindrance than an advantage. Just with all the firepower that we do have out on the wings. And then if we look at like full strength team, like if we were to have, Reece Chills, Cucurella, like if we were to have everybody, and then you look at center backs, if we had like Fofana, back already. Like if you look at what that could be, there's a lot of talent and a lot to be to be afraid of if you're the opposition. Like you don't even really need a striker because anybody can score from pretty much anywhere. So I like the idea of just having a false nine or just flat out saying, yeah, we're not even gonna call it a false nine. We're just not going with a striker.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think Nkunku can play as a 9 in a pinch. Washington doesn't even seem to getting a trot out so much with the U21s. I know he has in friendlies as of late, but he's only got 2 appearances in the PL2 so far this year with a goal in hand. Dude, I don't know. I think you go out and you get somebody on loan. We can't. You can't. If Osimhen is the long-term goal, and we freed up all this contract space, right? The weekly wages by selling off everybody last summer. There's got to be something available there to get somebody in for 6 months. You know, like a João Felix. Well, not João Felix because he's already on loan. But Matt, you're gonna love this one. Luis Suarez is going to Inter Miami and is going to need to be fresh going into the season. A 3-month MLS loan for Luis Suarez to chomp away at Cesar Azpilicueta, or no, chomp away at Ivanovic.
Are mouth guards included for all members of the team? Just asking for a friend.
Fair. But the guy can finish, and he doesn't need to be here the rest of the season. It just needs to be like, remember Landon Donovan making like those 1-month loans to Everton? Give me something like that. Like let's get ourselves good to go for January. Let Nico Jackson come back, and then roll from there.
I wonder if we can get Chicharito.
Is he still alive?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's with the Galaxy.
Can Kendry Paez fake
He's
his
actually
birth
looked pretty
certificate?
good. Like ever since he went to MLS, granted I know it's MLS, but he actually looks pretty good still.
And I think
Bring him
that's
over.
it.
We're pulling everybody from MLS anyways. Bring him over.
That's the thing. I think if you're going to go for these short-term loans, that's the place to do it. Is to, Carlos Vela, I think, is now out of contract with LAFC.
Yep.
That would be great. Who's our guy? Josef Martinez would be great.
He's done with Inter Miami.
Yeah. So I think there's options there. Now, would the fan base riot? Absolutely. But I think it gives you cover. All right. Well, speaking of the fan base rioting and going back to Parker's topic here, Conor Gallagher rumored to be on the way out, although the sources that are releasing this are not my favorite sources. So we'll see what's going on with that. Apparently they were close on a 35 to 40 million pound deal over the summer. And then it just fell through. But Spurs are back and negotiating with Chelsea. And I think the fee is rumored to be about the same, 35 to 40. This is rumored to be like the okay price. Okay, boys. Whoever wants to start us off here, because the fan base is going to riot. I'm indifferent, I guess, but I don't speak for the people.
The positive is we are 100% in the driver's seat. It feels like at this club we sell players after they've decided not to play anymore, and they don't play well anymore. And Conor Gallagher, by all metrics, Mr. Metric Man up there, Conor Gallagher, by all metrics that are measurable, has had a phenomenal season so far. He has been outstanding, and so we are 100% in the driver's seat on this one. I don't know how dire our financial situation is to know exactly like where we sit in the negotiations, but from the outside looking in, it looks like we hold all the cards, and we can say 70 million. Oh, and tomorrow it's 72. Oh, and the next day it's 75. Like, do you want him? Like, how much you want to pay for him? Because he's earned a spot. He's solidified a spot. He's not a role player. He's not a rotational player. He's a starter, through and through starter right now, and he's our captain on the field. And so, if you want him, you got to pay up. And so, the only reason this is okay to me is if we get a big fucking sum of money back. Like, that's the only way that this is okay. If we make them pay, like everyone else has done to us so many times. Like, you want someone, pony up for it. If we let them go for 35, I'll riot. That's where I'll be really upset. 40 seems too low right now as well. Knowing what we've paid for players for less production, Connor has shown it in the Premier League with our team. So I'm hesitantly okay with it if we get a big chunk of money back, because I know what it does for the books and I know what it does for this project, and it funds a lot going forward. But I struggle to say it. I do, because I have enjoyed watching him play for us.
Let's also not forget the fact that it is Tottenham, so automatically the price goes up by 15 million. That's just a standard fee of doing business with a rival. To me, I think he is somebody that is more integral to this team than a lot of people give him credit for. And I'm not just talking about on the pitch. If you look at this whole concept of a project in a nutshell, that's Conor Gallagher. He's been through the shit. He's gone out on loan, see what he can do. He's come back. He's fought his way back to a starting role in the squad. Now he's captain, basically the number one person on the team sheet every single week. That is part of that project. And if you take his story and tell everybody else, all the new, young, talented players that we have, look at what Connor had to go through and look where he is now. Like, it's going to get there. He is like the personification of this project. So I think that there is even more impact off the pitch to keeping Connor. I would agree with Parker. If we did let him go, it would have to be a very large amount of money. If I were to set my price, I would say right now 80. Again, he is arguably the best box-to-box midfielder in the Premier League right now, arguably. So you're going to have to pay up for him. And like, he's not having a mediocre season. He is having a fantastic season. So you're going to have to pay for him now, not just where he was at the start of the season.
Okay, I again agree with Matt that the valuation should be much higher. 40 million pounds seems like a joke when we just went out and spent, and maybe this is just us, maybe it's a Chelsea thing. Spent 200 million pounds on two players who had a good season. Maybe that should, like, I don't know. Seems like we should be getting 100 million pounds. We should be getting Declan Rice money. But Connor doesn't have the track record that Declan Rice has, and he's English. Now, if I love that meme when Declan Rice is being sold of if he was Declan Aros or Declan Pilaf or any of these other ones, that he'd be going for 500 million pounds.
Declan Richinho.
Yes, I think there is some validity to that. I think being English isn't. It's like being American, right? there's some stuff that goes along with that. But at the same time, I've said it several times on this pod, I think overall Connor's a squad player. And he's not so much victim of circumstance is not a good phrase, because he's not a victim. He has come out ahead due to these circumstances. But you look at the players that we have out on loan, the players that we have out injured. Everybody's back. I don't think he's a starter. I think once Lavia is fully fit, I think Lavia is a starter. And Kunku's coming back. That's going to force somebody out. Cole Palmer has already forced people out of the lineup. Carney Chukwuemeka, who was on fire before getting injured, is coming back. We went out and signed a highly rated youth player in Alex Matos, who has made on nearly every single match day squad and has featured, I think, 3 times over the summer. Andre Santos is going to be coming back from loan. And who was the other one I was thinking of that's going to be coming back from loan? He's not going to be coming back, but Cesare Cassette is going to be coming back at the end of the year. You have people who can do what Connor does. Yes, Connor statistically and metrically is having a great season. But I think we have several people who can do what he does for cheaper already on the books. He's a redundancy. So if you can get money for him and he fuels a quote unquote star signing, if we get Kylian Mbappe in the next couple of weeks, Victor Osimhen, well worth it. Well worth it for the project. But we can't. Sorry, go ahead.
It just might mean a step back in form for our team, even from our 10th place team in the short term. And I go back and forth because I don't think we do things that I don't like doing things short term that have high success that are long term bad to appease the fans and how fucking fickle they are. But this fan base is already having a meltdown, and I think selling him and then regressing is actually gonna be hard. I don't think our fan base is strong enough to withstand that in some respects.
No, but at the same time, I just mentioned this a couple minutes ago. It's choosing the wrong Cobham people. Now, I think Gallagher is going to have a better overall career than Armando Broya. I think Gallagher is a very serviceable Premier League player, but again, he's a squad player for what would be a top 6 team. And so, you don't want to pick Cobham players just because they're Cobham players. Not everybody coming through the academy is destined for greatness. We went 20 years with John Terry being the only one. So, Matt, I appreciate the sentiment of, this is the story we need to tell everybody. You can still tell the story. Hey, look at that guy over there. He came through our academy. He played for the club for a little bit and moved on. Has had a great career since. That's still something you can market to kids, right? That's still something you can tell these academy guys. But you don't need to be picking players just because they're young English Cobham players. That's how we end up selling the Livermentos and keeping these fucking bums that we have.
So his contract really isn't that bad. I just looked at it. $50K a week in the grand scheme of things is dirt cheap compared to what we're paying. I'm just saying, compared to what we're paying everybody else, that is dirt cheap. He is up, I think, for a new contract after
next
season. Yeah. So, in which he would obviously ask for a raise, as well he should. So I understand that way. I think, to me, I think maybe a happy medium would be finish out the season and then at least start talking about, if you are Chelsea and let's say you do want to lock him up for at least a little bit, see if he can grow more. Maybe you only do like a 2-year deal with him because he's only 22, 23. So, okay, let's say, by the time that other contract is up, let's say he signs 2-year, he's 26, entering 27, still in the prime of his career. Who knows? He might have flopped out. He might have gotten significantly better. We don't know. But I think at least with him, it's worth taking a flyer on. I'm not saying pay him $300K a week, but if you did have to bump it up, let's say to $100K a week, I'd be okay with that because he's proved it, he's earned it, and we've seen the jump that he can make in 2 years. So you have to see what kind of jump he can make. I think if you try to sell him now, you run the risk of, you could look at it however you want, but you run the risk of, selling too low, or, you keep him and you should have sold him when he had the chance, right? You can look at it either way. I think right now, for everything he's doing with this club, it is going to be a very tough. It is going to be something that is very tough to explain to the general public why we sold arguably our best player this season and co-captain, vice captain, whatever you want to call it, why you sold him in January, if it comes to that. That is going to be a very hard explanation for the general public to get a hold of.
And just to further it, like, he is a leader. He is a leader on this team. He is on the field stuff is there. The stats are there. And he is a leader on this team. Emotionally and physically and by example and captain. It's like, it's him and Silva. And we don't have anyone else on this team that leads. It is those two gentlemen that lead our team. And it would be hard to watch it go away, because I think he's one of those players where you definitely miss him when he's gone, kind of a guy.
So I think, yes, I agree. I agree with that. I think he shows more communication and leadership than other people do on this team. That's what we got Alfie Gilchrist for. No, I joke. I think that what the issue you run into here is that if you don't sell him, I think there's more to him not having a new contract than what we're being told. What we're being told is, oh, well, he wants to, but the club hasn't given him any offers yet. I find that hard to believe with the amount that he's playing, with the amount that Pochettino is talking him up. He's got 18 months left on the contract. This is turning into another Mason Mount situation. And I feel like this is just a feel. I don't know anything. I don't know people in the club. I don't know Conor Gallagher. But there's something driving that. There's something driving the rumors of him being sold. And so if he's not going to sign, or if you're not planning to extend him, now is when you have to sell him. You can't sell him in summer when he's got 12 months left on his contract, because then clubs are going to be like, well, no, like, what are we paying you for? We can have him sign for free in January. You have to sell him now if you're going to sell him. If he's not going to sign that contract, it has to be now. And so like you guys are saying, this fan base is fickle. This fan base seemingly doesn't have common sense, seemingly doesn't expand their minds. And for the most part, our listeners are great. Our listeners, they're thinkers. But you're going to have a lot of stupid people being like, oh, what the fuck, being pissed. And that's going to lead to stupid decisions by the club. So I think we need clarity more than anything here. We need more leaks, more smoke. All right. Well, boys, last thing, we'll end on a fun note here. We are 2.5 hours, at least in Milwaukee, from 2024. So let's put on our thinking caps here. Let's go into the mind of Chelsea Football Club. New Year's resolutions. We're going to do 3 different categories here. One, New Year's resolution as the owner, or as Todd Bowley and the board. One is Maurizio Pochettino as the manager, and one is the players as a collective. So let's start with the players, because I think that's the fun one. If you're Thiago Silva and you're getting the pulse of the locker room, Parker, what's the consensus on a New Year's resolution for the players?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it in my lack of leadership comment earlier, but we got to show some unity. Like, we need to resolve to play for each other. And it's something I've said before on this podcast, but it's like the matches that stand out are like the City match and like the Dortmund match from 2023, of matches where like guys gave a shit and played for each other and like bailed each other out and like celebrated defensive clearances like they were goals, things like that. Those kinds of moments we need to have some unity as a squad. And so it comes from within, it comes from leadership, and then it comes from demonstrating that type of play. That's if everyone took a step backwards and didn't care as much about their own stats and played for the team, we'd be a better team.
Mine's pretty simple. It's something that we've been asking for since the season began, even in preseason. Everybody stay healthy. Just everybody stay healthy. Let's just start with that and then see where things go.
Okay. I like both of those. Leadership, lack of injuries. I'm going to go with keep your heads. Too many stupid yellow cards. And I think we've seen that kind of tail off here. But there were a couple against Luton, against Palace. I was like, what are you doing, boys? Kicking the ball away. We know that's an automatic yellow card. What are we doing? So I'm all good for Nico Jackson going to fight someone or Mihailo Mudryk going to murder someone for tackling Ian Maatson. But the stupid yellow cards, let's axe those. So moving up a level here, Parker, we're gonna go with Mauricio Pochettino. If Mauricio Pochettino's drinking tonight out the pubs in London, he's thinking, what's my New Year's resolution? What am I gonna do better in 2024? What is that?
I think for as much as I like the youth in our team and as much as I like, kind of like the future, I think we need some, and you alluded to this at the striker position, Collins, we need some like short-term stability. And so sign somebody with a goddamn spine and has some experience in the midfield, somewhere in the middle of the pitch. We have it with Silva, but like we need someone who is just reliable that can just kind of fill some holes every once in a while. And we just get a solid 40 minutes, solid 20 minutes, solid 60 minutes here and there every so often to get out of. Just someone really reliable that isn't a project that can just kind of slot into the team and fit nicely. Just I'm thinking of like a Pedro type player, like not super flashy, but just reliable, just someone that gets the job done and can be someone that can slot in. So I know we had sort of that like no 1/25 mentality and for the future, great, but like short-term or loan basis, get someone in there that can give us a little bit more stability.
Matt, what's Pochettino thinking for New Year's resolution?
What did I sign myself up for? Which ironically enough, he's kind of even admitted like this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. But if I'm Pochettino, I think, and Collins, I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, but I think just more consistency with the subs. It's out of 5, he might get 3 right. And then other ones you're just confused, like, wait, you're doing what? You're taking off who for wait, what are you doing? Again, we can attribute some of that to injuries and just not having the full squad available to him. He kind of has to throw bodies out there and hope for the best. But I do think as we're getting more people back, we're still a little perplexed by some of the changes that are made. So I would just say more consistency with the substitutions.
Well, I think mine wraps up both of yours pretty well. Mine's pretty vague, and that's don't get the sack. I have a feeling if he makes it through this first season with Chelsea, it's all uphill. Not uphill, downhill. The easier one. It's better. It's better for him. Let's say we finish 8th. I don't think we're finishing below 8th next year. Let's say he wins the Carabao Cup or, has a team win the Carabao Cup. Now he's in Europe next year. That's a positive. And then he's going to be the guy. He will be the managerial face. He will be the Mourinho of this rebuild, of this new phase of Chelsea Football Club. So if he can avoid the sack this year, he's in good shape. So I think by doing what both of you guys said, I think that helps with that. So now moving to the next highest level here, it's the board, the sporting directors, Pochettino, all those, not Pochettino, Bowley, thank you.
Bowley.
Yeah, Egbali, all those fun people. You get a poll together on them. What's their New Year's resolution?
Collins, you can start this one off. We'll go reverse order.
Well, this one it is yours, Parker, from the previous one, and that's don't stop buying 16-year-olds from South America, because I think long term that's great, but get rid of the U25 policy. Sign some experienced players who are going to come in and provide some leadership with this group, but you have to be selective with this. You can't just go out willy-nilly signing Zappacosta and Drinkwater and all those Antonio Conte guys. It needs to be real proven leaders that can form a backbone of this team.
We really got to stop saying buying 16-year-olds from South America. Gives off the real wrong vibe. But anyways, especially with that mustache.
Not owned by Epstein.
It's off the coast of South America. So I think for me, if I'm Bowley, all right, the Dodgers are done. You got your two people. Now let's switch gears and focus on getting the right people in at Chelsea. I think I'm kind of falling in line with you guys. Like, I understand the long-term project. I get it. I'm with it. I'm here for it. How does that help us now? We are in a hole and we need to get out of it quickly. So while we are, redoing this project correctly, we also got to slap some band-aids on some problems and just stop the leaks of the ship before it fully goes down. I think that's kind of where we're at. The other thing that I would say is, don't get Boston to paying all this fucking money just because we have it. I think that's the other thing. Like, we all know what it was with the Caicedo thing with Mudryk. Like, just if it's not the price that you want, have a top price. Say no, we're out. Somebody else can be dumb and pay that kind of money. Like, be smart about what we spend money on, which I think we do for the most part. But it's these high profile, high value assets that we're going out and getting. I feel like for a lot of them we're overpaying. So I think it's just be firm in those decisions. Have a cap, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Move on to the next player.
Something that we've always prided ourselves on at Chelsea is doing good business, right? Is not overpaying and selling our players for more than we, having that balance be close to even or close to neutral. So I totally agree with that point, Matt. Mine has nothing to do about the team. Mine is around Stamford Bridge. Make a decision on the future of Stamford Bridge is what I want ownership to do. We've talked about it in weeks past. I don't want ownership to talk about transfers and stuff. I think that's Pochettino's ring to at least control from the media standpoint. Poch is in control of the team. Board is in control of the behind the scenes stuff. And there's a big question mark around what's happening to Stamford Bridge and what happens to the future of Chelsea football and where they play in the future. And one of the ideas that's being floated around is tearing down Stamford Bridge and building something on top of that, which would mean 3 to 4 years of no football being played at Stamford Bridge, which is hard to take. It's hard to think about them playing at a Wembley or sharing with a Fulham or something like that, like for 3-4 years. Make a decision on it, and then hopefully it's something that we can all get behind. But it's a big kind of like gray cloud that's hovering above, and I'm worried about it. And as someone who goes to London for work, I'm trying to get to Stamford Bridge as many times as I can, because I don't know how many more times I'm going to have to see it in my lifetime. And I don't know what the future is of of that stadium, and it's a great stadium. So that's what I want clarity on, and give me at least a little bit of a runway so I can get to as many games as I can in the meantime.
I like it. We'll make sure everybody listening, all you smarty pantses out there, send us your New Year's resolutions on social media. You can send them Facebook, X, Instagram, all that good stuff. We're at Flag Down Pod. We won't get into the polls because they were pretty self-explanatory this week. Cole Palmer.
Cold Palmer. I just want to be very clear. Cold Palmer.
Cold Palmer in it. Matt, you threw me off my vibe here. Just vibing. Make sure to follow us social media. Like I said, you can check out our man of the match, man to get the fuck out of here polls. Post them after every single match. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a rating. Throw a review in there if you want. We'll take those 5 stars. We appreciate it as always. Boys, 2023 is dead. Long live 2024. Up to Chelsea.
Cheers, boys.